Walk on?
Yep.
Walk on.
Half a day.
Walk it up.
Happy International Women's Day.
Woohoo!
When's International Men's Day?
Where were you at?
I was like,
I
was over here, okay?
Whatever.
Hey.
Any more? I got more.
It's not very IWD of you, lads.
Huh? Sorry. I teach at an all-boys school.
Can you tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do or what your passion is?
Half a day, Guahusi Nolan Flores. Tautau Zotnia Zu. Umesquakula Zu, Gi Universidad Guahan, za Matotutu Zu, Gi Commission on Decolonization.
Guahusi Catherine Perez, or Cat, Familian Godzuzu. My family's from Malolo, Hagatnias, and Barragata Heights. I'm a farmer and a local beekeeper. I'm pretty passionate about the land and the soil and plants.
Hi, my name is Tatiana Ananich. I'm from Jigo. I belong to Familian Mang from Saipan on my mom's side and Familian Macacat from Ipow on my dad's side. And I'm currently an undergraduate student at the University of Guam.
Half a day, my name is Alzo Kanata. I'm familiar in Kohuts and familiar in Bella. I grew up in the village of Zotnia, but I rep Tutuhans and Humatek. I am a Guam studies teacher at Father Duenas Memorial School, and my passion is education.
Hafade Ali Mogathin. My name is Muturwan Cho'ai. I am a daughter of Micronesia from the islands of Guam, Palau, Yap, and I'm also Carolinian. What I do, I work at the University of Guam under the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences as a communication and outreach coordinator, and I'm passionate about the representation of Micronesians.
Ooh, period.
That's how you do it, guys.
Gosh, dang it. You should have
You
started
should have went
off.
first.
Have you done that before?
Many introductions in my life.
Say.
So what is the Department of Maolek?
The Department of Maolek is a hypothetical local government agency whose proposals are rooted in inafa'maolek, reciprocity, and restoring right relationships with ourselves, with each other, with the land and water, and with the future generations that will inherit our home.
How do you define inafa'maolek?
Inafa'maolek is a Chamoru word, and it's actually made up of a bunch of different parts. And inafa'maolek's most direct translation is the making of things good. But it's also used as a way to describe a Chamoru philosophy that's persisted for as long as the people have been here, that centers around sustainability, reciprocity, restoring right relationships, and thinking about the future in mind.
Inafa'maolek is restorative. It recognizes that current relationships, the way we do things now, have kind of broken us off from the right path. Inafa'maolek is bringing us back on that path and restoring where we came from, what has sustained us for thousands of years past.
What does the word reciprocity mean to you?
I envision reciprocity as giving back to our island just as much as we take from it.
I envision reciprocity just from a perspective as an islander living within the islands but away from my home, that it's a value that's shared within our community, within our region, that no matter where we go, no matter where we call home, we're always going to want to give back to our community, give back to our islands, whether that's helping our grandmas or cleaning up on the beaches.
As a farmer, you know, we are dependent on the land. Like, our whole livelihood is dependent on how the soil is going to nurture our plant and how that plant is going to nurture us. So it's really important that we feed not just the plant, but the soil and all the little critters that benefit the plant, and then those nutrients will get uptaked into the fruit, and then we intake those nutrients. When I hear reciprocity, I always think of that's exactly what we do at the farm.
In the context of inafa'maolek, reciprocity also means just doing what is right, even without expecting anything back.
I think it's important to remember that when you're enacting inafa'maolek in your everyday life, that intention matters. It's not just enough to do things that are good for the community or the land. Personal gain may come from acts of inafa'maolek, but if that is your intent going into it, then it doesn't justify the action.
Inafa'maolek is our future. In so many ways, it's giving back to your community, and that can start with small everyday actions, turning into informing policy and changing our community. So having that value and then having it for our future generations, starting with our community and our government.
Take us through a session or an episode. What does that look like?
We start with identifying an urgent issue facing our island community and present the research and facts that help to showcase this issue and how it directly affects like our people.
We also discussed like who in the communities is being impacted, as well as the aspects of Guam that is being impacted.
Yeah, and then we look at the entities, the agencies, or the leaders that have the power to effect the change that we talk about.
And then we take turns proposing solutions that are rooted in inafa'maolek.
And with our solutions, we discuss amongst each other, like, is it realistic? Is it based in inafa'maolek? And then in the end, once we eliminate solutions and we choose the ones that are the best fitted for our community, we remind the audience why inafa'maolek solutions are important.
So what topics will the Department of Maolek be covering this season?
We'll be talking about food insecurity and the impacts of tourism.
More topics include the threat of lead contamination to our aquifer and illegal dumping.
Up until now, how do you feel like decisions have been made in our government?
With the money in mind.
Yeah. I think like decisions now, a lot of times they're made like individualistically. Like the people that are in the room where it happens, like are making decisions and really like looking at how it affects like maybe them or their like most like personal sphere of influence, or like the people that are around them, like their family, but aren't really looking at like how this can affect people that are removed from them, like maybe living on another side of the island.
Yeah, I think some of the legislation today leaves out parts of the community that aren't in government or don't have as much access to the government. For example, lower income families, some villages that don't have enough resources, and just across our island where we see issues where our government is not addressing them, and it could be because of our lack of inafa'maolek in all of our policy approaches.
Another thing that our government tends to kind of neglect is our relationship with the land, just because it's not walking around and breathing. They're living things, and they require care. That's something that's not at the forefront of their solutions either.
For a long time, too, when considering our environment, I think that decisions have been made in ways to exploit it, again, for profit. And even if these leaders have the right intentions, I guess, to benefit the community or the people of Guam, there's not too much sense of what can we do to give back to it so that it can continue supplying us with what it's been for so long.
I also think that they are not really considering the up-and-coming future leaders. Like, it's cool that we're doing what we're doing because, like, we're, like, in the middle of youth and that generation that's in government right now.
In what ways does the Department of Maolek provide solutions that your typical government agency doesn't?
Yeah, so at the core of our agency, Department of Maolek, is inafa'maolek, right? Because inafa'maolek is restorative, we're recognizing that in order to restore these relationships, we need to see the ways that they've been broken.
Whereas like other agencies are probably like concerned with either the bottom line of like budget or concerned with maybe like staying in line with like party affiliations or like appeasing certain demographics. The Department of Maolek is really focused on maintaining that spirit of inafa'maolek over everything else.
I think another thing that we really try to focus on is considering our future and the future generations to come. So our solutions really think ahead, and the solutions we propose is kind of instilling for the long run.
So we don't just consider one entity or one industry when making these decisions. We try to restore the right relationships with our community and our environment.
And that really starts within like who's part of the Department of Maolek, because we're bringing in our different perspectives, our different how we were raised and how we interpret inafa'maolek and what we want to envision for Guam and for our future of the islands.
I think also what makes like our inafa'maolek focused solutions like so much more holistic is the fact that we try not to be extremely like polarizing. Like it's easy to like either be completely like on the side of like individual capitalism or like completely on the side of like everything is messing up the environment and we need to like destroy everything that's gonna touch it. But like restoring right relationships isn't like having one come out on top over the other, but it's like balancing those two.
Yeah, that's a good point, Laz. Like in coming up with solutions, we're making sure that even though we might be fixing it for one group of people, we're not making things worse for another group of people, right? We're trying to do this all together, uplifting of our people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of government do you want future generations of Guam to inherit?
I envision one that's transparent and open to really what their concerns are. We do have some like senators who listen and who stand up, but overall, it's been lacking.
Yeah, I'd like future generations to inherit a government that they feel is listening to them. And I kind of want to get out of this sense, within my generation at least, that I've noticed, where we feel like voting or getting into politics or keeping up with local events and activities on the government level is kind of like useless because we don't have a say in whatever is going on. So I don't want future generations to feel the way that a lot of people feel right now.
I want like future generations to inherit a government that doesn't feel like it needs to mimic other governments that they perceive as being like, like the model. Like just looking at like how things are run on Guam, I feel like a lot of times we try to emulate like what we see on like national news in like the United States, or like just other places that we think, have made it for their economy or for their society. But like understanding that like we're unique people with like very unique circumstances and a unique environment that needs to be looked at in a way that is, completely unique in and of itself.
Yeah, I want our future generations to inherit a government that is also responsive to the diverse populations on our island, but also look into the resources that we already have and how we can just build up from our island and further develop without looking outward or taking advantage or taking for granted what we have, because our future generations won't be able to benefit from those in terms of resources and just a holistic government.
Young people like us need to be able to see themselves in government, right? And they need to understand the fact that they constitute government and that government works for them, right? And in the same way that leaders need to deliver on things, we also play a role in ensuring that we are advocating our concerns and the solutions that we wish to see. So that's what Department of Maolek is doing, right? Taking the unique perspectives that each of us from our different backgrounds, from our different, let's say, cultural experiences, provide in solving the larger problem.
So to potential leaders or community members who might watch this show, what do you want to say to them?
I hope that people watching this understand or like open their eyes to see that inafa'maolek and just like the local culture, the Chamoru culture here is not like a relic of the past. Like it has been the driving force that, helped our people survive through like 3 different colonizers, through like 2 separate wars. And it's something that even though we're this far in the future and the Guam we see today is so vastly different from the Guam like our grandparents saw, that inafa'maolek still needs to be at the heart of those decisions and those reasons for doing the things that we do on the island.
Yeah, and I encourage those watching to think long term in terms of the solutions, right, or the problems that we're trying to fix. Think more about the long-term effects rather than the short-term gains of the decisions that you make.
I challenge those watching just to think about that you are part of the government and that you should influence your leaders to represent your needs in policies. Just imagine that culture, indigenous culture, island culture has a place in today in contemporary issues and in your government. So push your leaders to use the values of restoring right relationships to our environment and to our people, and also reciprocity in the government today.
I also encourage those that are watching to keep in mind the urgency of these issues and how once something is done, it cannot be undone, especially towards our environment. As inhabitants of the land and people who live here, it's our obligation to think about how we're contributing to these issues and what we can do to scale back our impacts and what we can do to encourage those who have the actual power to make those changes.
I hope that upcoming and future generations don't feel that they have to leave Guam in order to succeed or be happy or find fulfillment in their lives.
So to the people who might critique the ignorance or naivete of young people, and for those people who might watch this show and have be a little bit cynical, what do you have to say?
I just want to say, it takes a lot of like courage and heart to do this kind of stuff. We always get criticism. I mean, like especially with like the movements and the kind of community work that we do, we get those criticisms that we're just being loud, we're young, we don't know what we're talking about. But this show really brings the fact that we've done the research and we're at the heart of these issues, and we see these issues daily, and we're also at the heart of our community and our culture. So we know what it is to really center that with community and government.
I hope that the people who are watching this keep an open mind and just know that everything that we discussed throughout this series is coming from a place of love for our community and our island.
So whether you are a leader or a community member, we hope you engage with us in these conversations and think about the Guahan we want for future generations. Oh, that's great! Wow, can you teach us?
Sorry.
Wow.
Hey, I'm Siobhon, the director of the Department of Maolek, and the voice you hear behind the camera in each episode. We had so much fun shooting this show, and we're so excited to share with you our next wave of stories, videos, music, and content under our new name, NIHI Indigenous Media. We're gonna take you all across the Marianas and even Micronesia, and we can't wait to show you what's next. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode.